Hello, friends and role players, and welcome back to IQ D&D, the Ramshackle adventure. I remain your wonderful dungeon master, James Webster, and with me today are David Wilkinson.
Hello.
Sara-Jayne Slack.
Hi, folks.
And Hugo Jackson.
Hi.
We are sadly without Craig Hallam today due to a dental emergency. And we all wish Craig and Craig's teeth the best. When we last left our heroes, they had started to approach the end of a very long and eventful day in their lives, as they had, over the course of this day, accepted various missions that brought them together, investigated mysteries in the sewers beneath the city of Ramshackle, and met and kind of recruited the fugitive Anahis, a refugee from another plane, and doer of at least one accidental murder. You had then tried to meet up with one of the people who had reached out to this other plane, Professor Bustius, the only of one of the two still living, to find that he had been kidnapped. And after some combat and a rather exciting chase through the streets of Ramshackle, you managed to catch up to his abductors and rescue Bustius and bring him back to his home. Along the way, you took one prisoner that you later released with the promise that she would try to set up a meeting for you with her employers, the mysterious wardens of the other plane known as the Tangle. You had discovered that Bustius had erased his own memory so he wouldn't give up anything that he knew to his captors. And now the only explanation for how this all came about is locked in an encoded diary. And I think that's most of the stuff that is relevant, and that's where you are.
All of that happened in one day.
Yeah. It's a lot happens in a day in Dungeons and Dragons. Your days are interminably long.
We started this morning.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, yeah. This has just been like one long D&D session.
Yeah.
Ignore the background.
It's not changed. The background hasn't changed.
None of us have different clothes or different hair. It's all fine. So, the evening is well and truly upon you. The day is coming to its close. You are taking a second to regroup and just to allow the vast quantity of information you've absorbed today to sink in, try and connect some dots. And you'll just take a breath for the first time in a little while. And what would you like to do?
Food? Food good. Need food.
Definitely.
Does anybody need healing?
Yes.
I feel like Faria might need some medical attention.
Yeah, a little bit.
What
indeed.
Do you want?
2.
Yeah, so you are all looking fairly battered and exhausted and indeed physically injured in Faria's case and possibly a couple of others. So what you could do now is you could absolutely take a short rest, which mechanically means you can just spend your hit dice to recover hit points and refresh certain abilities. And if you wish to go out in search of food and nourishment and relaxation, then that would be a wonderful way to get that short rest.
Can we go to a bar?
I am shocked to hear Jack suggest this course of action. And indeed, roll me a history check to work out if there are any bars you like nearby. If you roll low, there will still be bars, you just won't like them.
4.
4. Plus add your intelligence and to that and your proficiency bonus if you have history trained. Let's just double check if you do.
I have history, no, but I have intelligence. That takes me up to 8.
Cool. Still not great. You definitely remember one bar that's nearby. It's called the Broken Arrow. You remember, among other things, that you have a considerable tab there. But you never know, if you say the right things and smile in the right way, they might just let you add some more credit onto that.
Well, yes. Is anybody else coming? Or am I just going by myself?
That's a good
I'll
question.
come. I'm hungry and someone needs to keep you out of trouble.
Yeah, I'll tag along as well. I definitely need something.
Okay, drinks are on Wendy then.
Fantastic. And I think Professor Bustius then goes, Anthony, if it's all right with you, I might borrow Alan, because I think that there's a cipher that might help uncode my diary that was left in my old lab. And I can tell Alan where it is, Alan can sneak in and take it, because I'm still not welcome there.
That makes sense.
Well, Alan really ought to keep an eye on him as well, if we're all heading out to the pub.
Very good. Where should we come and meet you afterwards? Will you just be in the pub for the foreseeable, or do you have like a base of
Well,
operations?
don't we have some people stashed at Farrier's place?
Yeah, Anahis is there.
Yep, Anahis is there, as is Posit, the walking arcane repository,
Yes.
Yeah.
and indeed Ick, the intellect devourer that you befriended, and who is now sitting inside of Posit on one of the bookshelves.
So yeah,
Or at
we
least
should
was
all...
when you last left.
So we'll go and get some scran and then meet you there.
Lovely. Alan can show me the way. Come on, Alan. And Alan, looking somewhat henpecked, follows along.
Well, he's literally got Princess Leia with him as well.
Oh
So-
gosh, yes, still carrying a hen in one hand and a fresh egg in the other still.
Did you see that video I sent?
Yes, it's in the episodes.
Good.
Love it. Fab. So, to the Broken Arrow then.
To the Broken Arrow.
Indeed, you make your way through the streets of the district.
Where are we? I haven't forgotten.
You are in the district of Chain, which is one of the more run-down parts of the city. But you make your way through a few little alleyways and dank streets down to a little hole-in-the-wall tavern with a somewhat weather-worn sign of an arrow snapped in two by a somewhat ferocious-looking human in a kind of piratical hat. You get the feeling the practical hat may have been a more recent edition painted over on top of the sign.
You say I've been here before. Doesn't sound like the kind of place I'd go.
When you're sober, maybe.
You haven't ever come here in a hat, have you?
I don't think so. I'm not sure I am the hat. Shall we go in?
Are we going in then, or are we just going to stay outside?
Shall
Indeed,
Hold on. Are we going to crash in, or are we going to sneak in?
The sooner we enter this watering hole, the sooner we can leave.
Right. Okay. I'm sure the food's great. Come on then. So I shoulder barge the door because it looks like it needs shoulder barging.
Yep, it opens with a kind of thud and then a squeak and a little rattle. The door's clearly in need of some love and care. But in you go into the dingy interior of this pub. The floor is covered in sawdust and yet somehow still sticky. The pub is full of little dark corners where several brooding people are nursing pints.
It's a student hangout, guys.
Can I check to see if I know anyone there?
Yeah, absolutely. Just roll a d20, and on a higher end, you will know someone. In the middle, you won't know anyone. And if it's quite low, like 5 or below, you'll know someone and they will have an issue.
12.
So no, there's no one especially that you recognize. Other than the bartender, a purple-skinned tiefling, who are the race of humanoids who usually have some demonic or hell-spawned ancestry of some kind. And the tiefling looks at you and goes, "Ah, I see. Back again. Such is my lot in life, to serve these patrons. Such is the world and its woes, that they will routinely return unto my humble establishment and test me. I mean, welcome.
Yeah. Have you got a menu, please?
Yes, we indeed have a menu, and they get a piece of paper from behind the bar and write a few things on it and hand it to you.
Wow.
And the options seem to be bread and cheese, mysterious stew, and miscellaneous meat.
Excellent. Right, we'll start with drinks. I'll have a white wine and Perrier, please. And how about you two?
I will have small ale.
If there's a cider, I'll have one.
Oh, we should get a cider for Alan.
You're having a cider, and you promised we wouldn't have any apples in Craig's absence. And we've broken our word.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the bartender fixes your drinks. The white wine looks of dubious provenance, but the water that's added does at least appear to be fizzy. And a small ale is poured from a cask on the back, and a bottle that has a picture of an apple on the label, at least, is provided to Farrier.
Yeah, can you put a vodka chaser in that wine as well, please? And I'll go for the mysterious stew.
Lovely. The bartender also looks at you at your request of a vodka chaser, and looks at the wine, and looks at you and says, "You know, in my time and my life, and given my ancestry, I should be familiar with all the blasphemies this world has to offer, and yet introducing a vodka chaser to this innocent wine is a new one even to me, but sure." And pours out a shot glass full of vodka and just drops the shot glass into the goblet of wine and fizzy liquid.
Yeah,
and shouts for an order of stew from the back.
Faria, what would you like to eat?
I mean, like is doing such a lot of work here. I will take the miscellaneous meats.
Very good. And again, shouts to the back.
And I will have the bread and cheese with a side of miscellaneous meat.
And bartender just nods, thinking, almost as if to say, good choice. And again, there's the sound of activity from the kitchen behind you, and you're assured your food will be out with you shortly.
Right. Is there a place next to the fire?
Let's see. There's a place not too far away from the fire. The kind of like comfy chairs right next to the fire are occupied by a pair of old women playing backgammon.
Yeah.
I'm not getting involved in that.
I was about to go and intimidate them. Can I go and intimidate them?
How are you going to intimidate them, Jack? Have you met these people before? They will destroy you.
What, because they're backgammon players?
Because they're old women who are backgammon players. You should know how this kind of thing goes by now.
Okay. I'll bow to Wendy's obvious wisdom in this matter. That could have been fun, though. Although I now suddenly remember that Farrier probably doesn't need to get into anything at the moment.
I would prefer not to, but it's. I'll be here anyway.
You could watch.
Yeah, take notes.
Yeah. So we'll go and sit at the table then. That's fine.
Yep. And the table, whilst not right next to the fire, is still reasonably warm. And as you sit there and let the drinks warm your stomachs and the fire warm your bones, you start to feel a little better after this hellacious day. Please do, if you wish to spend your hit dice, which is purely you'll have as many hit dice as you have levels, which I believe is still 2.
Mm-hmm.
It will depend on your class. You'll just roll them, add your con modifier, and you recover that many hit points.
What's my con modifier? 2.
That's all right. Back up to 13.
Yeah, and so after that little rest and the food comes out and you dig in, and despite the less salubrious naming of this food, it's actually surprisingly decent. You get the feeling this place keeps up a disreputable facade, but actually looks after its patrons fairly well, at least in the food department. While your drinks are of lesser quality, but they do the job.
Cool. That's the good way round. That's the way round to do it, definitely. Yep.
Shall we make some plans then?
Well, we need to go back to Faria's after this.
Yeah. Is that where we'll make the plans?
Well, I'm assuming that we need the input of other parties to be present.
Yeah. Shall we review where we are?
We can I'm sure you have a wonderfully long list, Jack.
No. It's all not making much sense.
I just imagine Jack bringing out like loads of papers and like putting them on the desk and like post-it notes stuck to their ear and all of that lovely stuff.
So we've got Anahis from this other place, and he's done all kinds of bad things. So we're basically...
Could I just make sure that there's no one close enough to be eavesdropping, please?
Yeah,
and this
absolutely.
guy from this portal.
Give me a perception check.
Okay, let me just check my sheet. Okay, so I do not have a plus in perception, so that is a 9.
You look around the room. Most people seem fairly involved in their own business, whether that's the backgammon players or people just really engrossed in their drinks, or a couple of people kind of arguing at the bar. No one seems to be paying attention to you that you can see.
Okay, cool. You were saying, Jack?
Yeah, so we've got Anahis, and he seems to be involved in stuff. And may want to stop the video at this point while I explain that I have no idea what this set means, which I've got ready. Or leave it going. Warden Naramson, wardens from the Tangle, kidnapped on orders of voice from the Tangle, TP circle, drop-off point, shack to the north, Sibella.
Sibella, I think, was the one who we kidnapped and convinced to.
To get another.
Yes, Sibella was the one that you manacled to a light fixture of Buster's house, and you released on with the promise that she would set up a meeting for you. I believe that she or one of the other kind of kidnappers that you foiled had a small code book as well that gave you the various dead drop locations and times. So if you wished to pass a message to the followers of Warden Naramsin who are operating in the city, then you could also do that. But given you have a messenger on the way, then you might not need to.
No, indeed.
Okay.
Yes, and I believe Anahis explained to you that Warden Naramsin was one of the figures of authority within the Tangle, who was head of an organization who have a quite isolationist policy and believe that people from the Tangle shouldn't go to other planes and should not interact with people from other planes, etc.
So where did we tell Sibella to meet us?
We hadn't yet. I think she was going to contact us. I think.
Right.
Yeah, she seemed confident she'd be able to find a way to contact you.
Well, that makes sense considering who we are, so...
Yeah, we've been kind of visible. And they have access to teleportation circles and things like that, so we're kind of on the back foot, I guess.
We've not exactly been operating under the radar, have we?
That's true. Do we think it's safe for all of us to go our separate ways this evening?
No.
Concise as ever, Jack.
Jack turns over the next page of her notebook. Bustius message, faculty, priests of ego, artifice-based souls, interested parties from city council, work with Ambrose. Magical featuring bending rules of reality, snapping back, breakers, not benders. What? Sacrifice reputation, bad luck, window cleaner, wiping so good.
It's quite all right. So to explain some of that, I'm not sure I can quite recall the window cleaner comment, but part of Ambrose's, Ambrose and Bustius's research had been around the. Sorry. There we go. Had been around various things to bend the laws of reality. In terms of artificial souls, this looks at things like creating posit and imbuing a kind of constructed intelligence with more and more magical properties over time to give it kind of soul-like properties. And certainly the things you observe from posit are that posit can cast in spells independently, which things without souls usually cannot do. In terms of the kind of comment about breakers, it's that it's to do with what enables people to make sacrifices that bend the laws of reality past what is possible with normal magic, which is by its nature changes reality. But has limits, and to be a breaker is to be someone who's able to push past those limits by making sacrifice. And it seems that Bustius had unintentionally done this and sacrificed his own reputation in order to create posit.
Ah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And the window cleaner?
Who even knows?
Not something to do with when we were letting ourselves into Bustius's house.
I wouldn't know. I was distracted by ice buns at that point. I think we both were.
Okay, so well, I guess at the moment we have to wait for Sabella to get back to us, and right?
We could go back and confront Anahis about all these things we found out.
Perhaps, but I'm not sure Anahis is going to know that much. He's just come through, hasn't he?
If he's been working with Bustius, then he might be able to fill some gaps in Bustius's, not necessarily restore Bustius' memory, but fill in gaps that we don't know about, or might have information that we can help decode the book with, maybe.
That's true.
Or even if he can understand the kind of cipher that's been used.
Yeah, that makes sense. Fari, are you still happy for us to come back with you?
Yes. Yeah, that's fine.
Good. Fab.
I want to make sure that my dad hasn't had his brain eaten anyway.
Yes, probably a good idea. Are we all finished here then?
How is the meat?
It's miscellaneous, but it's good.
Can you identify
How's the
it?
stew?
I don't know. Can I identify it?
Yeah, the meat just appears to be a kind of a selection of pork and beef, quite nicely cured. They probably just have a slab in the back. They just can slice bits off.
Cool.
The stew is.
Sorry.
The stew is very hearty. It's well seasoned and very warming.
It's soaking up the vodka. It's excellent.
Oh, I'm really hungry now.
Well, you're eating meat and bread and cheese.
Yes, I am currently eating meat and bread and cheese and drinking beer. Definitely. Not living vicariously through characters at all.
Is that blue mold on it meant to be there, do you think?
I think so. I'm just going to assume that it is, because the alternative is just not something I would like to use my brain to consider right now.
I'll bet you, right, a gold piece that the woman on the left wins the backgammon game.
I'm not going to bet anything with you, Jack.
Right.
The last time I did that, you almost had my sword.
Yeah. Faria?
I'm good. I don't want to take any more risks today, honestly.
Oh well. I'm just itching to interact with those two women.
Well, it's up to you, Jack. I'm not your babysitter, she says with a long, suffering sigh.
No, I'll leave them alone. It's fine. We'll finish up here and go back. Can we get some carry out?
Yeah, you can try. So you can go up to the counter.
Barman, can we get some carry out, please?
The bar person looks over at you and goes, such is the lot of one such as me, burdened to go through the slings and arrows of outrageous patrons. Oh, woe, woe, woe. You can have some bottles to take with you if you pay your bill. And brings over the kind of check for your meals, as well as a backlog of drinks from your previous visits, adding up to, let's see, I'm going to roll a d12 here. Adding up to 10 gold pieces.
Wow. Right, the bar person.
How much is the tab just for the food we've eaten?
2 silver.
Okay, I'm happy to pick that up. I'll pick up the 2 silver.
Indeed. At this point, Jack, I would love for you to roll a perception check for me.
9.
Cool. So what you all will hear, although you're somewhat distracted by talking about the bill, is just the door kind of rattle open again. And as you are distracted by the bill and your discussion with each other and the bartender, you do not notice the figure coming over to your table until a hand reaches past your shoulder, Jack, to pick up the bill, and a voice you recognize says, "Oh, don't worry, I've got this."
I'm going to slowly remove my hands from the current bill as well then.
Yeah. Tell me, what's Jack's mysterious father figure's name?
Oh, you've sprung this on me now, haven't you?
I have. I can provide a name if you do not have one ready.
I do not have one ready.
Very well. This person's name is Jonik, Jonik. He is an elven gentleman who is probably some hundreds of years old, has been operating in this city for some time. Jack, you will know that he is a reasonably senior member in the League of Reasonable People, the organization that is responsible for founding the Society of Orderlies who maintain the city's laws, and indeed who determined several of those early laws.
I am utterly torn because I don't want him to pay for it, but that is a very hefty bill. How much money do I have?
I'm just kind of like looking at him and then looking at Jack and then looking at him and then looking at Jack.
Where's my money? All right. I'll find it. There we go. That's nearly all my money. So just, Johnny, just... Ah! I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to let him pay it. I
Absolutely.
cannot not let him pay that.
That's fine. Without even counting out the coins, he takes a small coin purse from his from a pocket, one of several pockets on this kind of voluminous coat he's wearing, all in kind of black velvet. Hands it over to the bartender and says, "And you can keep the change. And perhaps we could borrow your room in the back for a few minutes. Jack, if you wouldn't mind, I would love to catch up."
Oh, God. God, what now? What now? How do you know I'm here?
I know many things, Jack. And there are many people who recognize you for one reason or another and are happy to alert concerned figures in your life.
Oh, great.
Can I whisper to Faria? Can I be like, do you have any idea who this person is?
I don't think I do. I'm sorry.
I'm afraid I'm not introducing them either. I'm just going to go off to the back room with him.
Yeah, the bartender produces a key, unlocks one of the doors in one of the shadows towards the back of the tavern. And there's a surprisingly cozy and well-appointed room here. A couple of nice, cozy armchairs, a roaring fire that's much better fed and warmer than the kind of slightly meager one that was out in the main tavern itself. Nice upholstery. It seems that this is a special room for special guests. And Jonnet goes in, takes a seat, and gestures for you to close the door.
Yeah, I've taken the wine with me as well. I've slipped those into my inside pockets. So you two, if you want to keep drinking, you're going to have to get your own. So yeah, I've closed the door.
Marvelous. There is indeed to one side of this room. There is a sideboard with a decanter. That Jonnet pours himself a glass, and starts to offer you a glass, and so says, "It seems you already have a drink."
No, that one will be fine.
He pours a second glass of strong liquor from the decanter and places it on a small table next to you, a little coffee table type thing. Takes his own seat and says, "So, Jack, I hear you've been busy today."
Did Grand Orderly Austin tell you that then? Or is...
Funnily enough, Grand Orderly Austin does not tell me much these days. Grand Orderly Austin keeps their own company and does not see fit to tell those concerned citizens such as myself what's going on, which obviously concerns one of such a philanthropic bent as me. No, obviously, when new parties begin operating in my city, it quickly becomes apparent to me, especially when they may be reaching out to knowledgeable individuals to get the lay of the land.
Okay, do you know what's going on then? Have they told you this as well, or?
I know a little, and am hoping to learn a great deal more very soon. The little that I do know may be of interest to you, though I may require a small show of good faith to help me keep in the know and to make sure that I know you'll put it to best use.
Oh, here we go. What do you want?
Well, it's fortunate that you would mention Orderly Austin in this case, as I believe Austin knows some things about certain goings on that I'd be keen to keep abreast of. And as Austin has apparently developed a conscience in recent years, and has certain stubborn ideas of what is right and what is wrong, and is quite taken against some people who only have the city's best interests at heart, it would be helpful to me to know something of their comings and her goings. And Jonix slides a small kind of brass shiny figurine onto the table in front of you. It seems to be a small bronze dragonfly, and says, "I simply require that you place this somewhere on the Grand Orderly's person. And then once this is done, I'll be happy to share all that I know and all that I come to know about this unfolding situation with you, including such things as names and even locations of certain parties involved."
Well, this is quite a serious thing that's going on. I've got a kidnapped academician. Is that how you say it? I've got a kidnapped person I'm looking for. We've got people roaming around the town killing people and snaffling their brains and all the rest of it. I think you should tell me something.
And I would love to tell you something. Sadly, much of what I know is not yet confirmed. And by doing this favor for me, you would be allowing me one avenue to confirm such information. I'd like you to roll me an insight check right now, because here's what we're gonna do. There'll be we'll if you want to ask any questions, you can make a persuasion or a deception check. If you want to find kind of interrogate the answers a bit more, we'll make an insight check. I think very little is going to be kind of revealed on the surface, but through these checks, there's going to be some subtext here that might tell you a lot. Oh, alas.
I shouldn't have had those drinks.
Yeah, so this is... Jonnik is always quite hard to read. Jonnik's had a very long time to practice his poker face and to learn just what to say and what not to say. So what's coming through here more than anything else is just how much you know that he knows about how the city works. And there's just this sense of kind of vast depths of understanding that you can only hope to approach. And
I'm
you
not
don't
gonna
read
get it.
much more.
Yeah, after that, I mean, no one's going to get hurt as a result of this, are they?
It is quite my intention to minimize or indeed eliminate any harm that might be done in this city.
Well, I mean, with that roll of 1, I'm inclined to believe you. What's your interest in this? You must be having an angle.
Excellent. Roll me a perception check here.
14.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. Do I have any extra? No. Yes, +3 perception. That's 17.
Okay. His deception roll was lower than that. So just repeat the question for me.
What is your angle? What are you getting out of this?
What I get out of this is an understanding of what's happening in my city and information based on which I can make sound decisions that will minimize any damage that might be done to my interests, which are the city's interests. And I think what you kind of read from the subtext beneath that is that this is a situation where Jonnik doesn't know as much as he would like to know, and he is used to knowing almost everything about the city, or at least everything he would like to know about the city. And while certainly it's within his character to try and make sure there's a certain amount of stability so that he can continue with his various concerns and illicit operations, when there is instability, he will seek to resolve it in such a way that benefits him. So the undercurrent here is that yes, he wants to make sure no damage gets done, but that no damage gets done in such a way that he will come out ahead.
Do you already know about the Tangle and people from the Tangle?
The Tangle, you might have to elucidate a little bit more. Give me an insight check here.
16. Oh, +3, 19.
That's again, difficult to read. It's hard to say whether or not he's feigning ignorance to try and get you to reveal more, or whether that name just hasn't been mentioned before. You might need to give a little bit more to get a little more.
I don't want to give him anything. So I'm inclined just to pick up the dragonfly, because that's all he wants me to do. Plant the dragonfly on Austin's person, and then he'll open up like a flower. Do I think that that is what would happen if I do that?
Certainly, Jonick is, in your experience, not someone to go back on his word.
Yeah.
But it is also your experience that once you are in Jonick's confidence, you are also involved in his schemes, and there might be further requests or expectations upon you later.
I am actually inclined to work with him on this, but I think I'm going to keep it to myself.
Okay, so you just take the bronze dragonfly, palm it, and Jonick looks at you, smiles warmly, and says, "I'm glad that I can trust you on this, Jack. I always like it when I can trust you."
What could possibly go wrong?
The thing is, I'm getting too old for this game, and I think I'd like to get out of this kind of stuff. So when all this is suitably concluded, will there be some other work for me?
I can always find something for someone of your talents if you wish to find it.
Well, we'll
If
see.
you were looking for something more secure and stable and less risky than these businesses you tend to find yourself in, then a place can certainly be found for you.
Well, you bear that in mind when all this is done. Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, you do right by me, Jack, and I'm sure you'll be made for life.
Excellent. Well, that's kind of all that matters, really, isn't it?
I've always thought so.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to ask you to give me one last insight check as you leave.
9 + 3, 12.
And I think beneath the surface, what you see there is a real fondness for you and a happiness that, having been a wild card for quite some time now, the prospect of you becoming someone that Jonick can rely on and a source of stability rather than of chaos, even if it's chaos you can take advantage of, that's appealing.
Well, we'll see how it ends up. I've not decided yet. But as far as he's concerned, I have. Or do you need me to roll on that as well?
No, absolutely not. You're fine there. But yeah, I think you just see a potential vision of the future of where you're on the other end of conversations like this and just sitting in comfort in well-appointed rooms, drinking very nice drinks and giving instructions to other more desperate people than yourself.
Be nice to get to that point.
And Jonick bids you farewell and says, "Thank you so much for your time, Jack. And as soon as your task is complete, call upon me and I will reveal what mysteries I'm able to."
Right. Thank you.
And Jonick heads out and gives a cheerful nod to each of Faria and Wendy on the way out and says, "Do look after my Jack."
Yeah, you too.
Has everyone heard the good news, going slightly off topic, about the US taxman and NFTs.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, what has occurred?
The US taxman is now taxing NFTs after, is it 10K, Hugo?
Yeah, I think 10.5K. I think, yeah.
Good.
So yeah.
Excellent. That sounds
Schadenfreude
positive.
is a harsh word, but lol.
Yeah. They can take those sour grapes and shove them one by one up wherever grapes fit, or sometimes whether they don't, to make it a more satisfying process.
Well, I think they're only going to tax it like 20% or something, aren't they?
Yeah, but it means
Well,
they have to
yeah.
record social security numbers in order to tax it, and nobody wants that because it's basically a massive money laundering multi-level marketing scheme. So as soon as they attach social securities to it, they have to identify who they are, and that means that all sorts of other things are probably going to get exposed. So.
But the blockchain, Hugo, it's going to save us all.
No, it's a noose. Shitbags.